Hey everyone, welcome back to Framer Dive, where we turn great design into simple steps. Today, I stumbled upon an incredible website section that just stopped me mid scroll, and I thought, you need to see this. And better yet, let me show you how to build it in Framer step by step. As you can see, just a quick snippet, we have something here called past experience that just sticks to the screen as we scroll. And then we have these beautiful, well arranged cards that just move from bottom to top all automatically. And yes, you can build this without writing a single line of code. Without further ado, let's dive into Framer and see how we can build this together. So welcome to my workspace, and what I have here, I have my desktop frame. Inside the desktop frame, I have a start section here. Then I have my main section, which is where I'm gonna design that particular section that you've seen. And then the final bit, I also have the end part here. So let me just call it the end. So these are just placeholders. And then inside here, and then I also have my navigation bar, which is this, should come around there. So what I want to show you now is how can we add content inside this section here so that we can have something that we want to design. Okay, so I'm just gonna come here to my keyboard, and I'm gonna hold F on my keyboard, and then I'm gonna create this frame, and inside this frame I'm gonna click it and hold T on my keyboard, and then let me not hold T, let me just come and grab this text here. So I had already designed this text, so it's just a text called past experience. So I'm gonna copy that text, and I'm gonna paste it inside this frame that I've just drawn. And I'm also gonna take this other text here, which is called a full list, and this, you just have this let me just show you, just have this full list and this arrow, and it's in form of a stack. And basically a stack means that we have text on the left and we have this icon on the right. So I'm gonna hold Control C, and I'm gonna just take it and just drop it inside this blue frame. So now my frame, as you can see, is just a frame, meaning it has a solid frame. So I just want to come here and click this icon here called plus layout, and it's going to have a layout. And as you can see, before it was kind of cramped up, like, you know, like disorganized, but then when I click layout, we have this nice layout. So I'm gonna now just remove the color, which is the blue part, by clicking the fill to none, and then I'm gonna set the height of this frame to fit the content. As you can see, that's how I want it to be. And as you can see, this frame is in the middle of my section. I want it to come to the top, so I'm gonna come to my section, and I'm gonna set the distribute property to start. And as you can see, it goes to the left. This is because our direction needs to be from top to bottom, like that. So that looks good. And then I'm gonna go inside this stack, and let me just rename it. Let me call this my text container. Okay, and in this text container, I want the distribute property to be space between, because I want to have some space between these two text. And then I want to go and adjust the width. So I'm gonna set the width to fill. As you can see, it fills the available space. But again, I want to add some maximum width. I want to give it a maximum width of 100 pixels, 1000 pixels, sorry, so that at least it will never cross this mark of 1000 pixels. So again, I'm also gonna hold F on my keyboard, come back to my section parent, hold F on my keyboard, and create this other frame where we're gonna now position our cards. So again, I'm gonna give it the same properties. So I'm gonna set it to fill, and I'm gonna also again make sure my maximum width is set to 100 pixels, 1000 pixels. As you can see, it looks good. And then I'm just gonna add some gapping. I'm gonna give it like a footy gapping, so there's kind of a space between this text and this blue part. So I'm just gonna just arrange the height, give it like 776 height, which is good, but we can always adjust the height as we continue. So let's go back to our website and see what we need to build. Notice that we already created this text bit, and now as we scroll, this text comes to a point where it sticks to our page. Okay, so normally this text needs to like continue moving up as we scroll, but it kind of sticks. So let's go back to the text and set the positioning type to sticky. So this is basically, as we scroll, we want to tell this layer of our text to look, just stick to where you are. And notice there's a slight space between the text and the top of our screen. So I'm gonna also put mine to sticky top around 60 pixels from the top. And remember, when you're setting a layer to sticky property, it means that all parent layers need to be set to overflow visible. So I'm gonna click the section which is the parent of my text, and I'm gonna make sure it's set to overflow visible. And also I'm gonna go to the section here and also make sure my desktop is set to overflow visible. So let's just view what we have. So if I start to scroll, notice what happens to our text. As you can see, we cannot see it because it's kind of below this navigation bar. So let me just go to this text container, or rather this let me go to my text container and to the sticky part, and let me give it a top of 100 pixels so that we can see it so that it doesn't go beyond or behind this navigation menu. So let's just see if it works. So I'm gonna just show you if it works. So nice. So as you can see, this past experience is sticking to the top of the screen as you scroll, and like that is pretty simple. So now we can scroll till the end until it goes. So let's just go back again, and now we can add our contents inside this blue part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to design these cards, which is quite simple. So I'm gonna just come here to my frame. Now I'm gonna step outside my main desktop frame. I'm gonna hold F on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna draw a frame like this. Okay, so don't worry about the height or the width. Let's just draw a frame that looks good. So I'm gonna get rid of the fill color, and inside this frame I'm gonna hold another frame and place it inside here. So this is going to be my image frame, and then I'm gonna put my text here on the other side. I'm gonna grab this text that I had. I'm gonna hold Control C, and I'm gonna paste it inside this frame that I've just drawn. And then again, I'm gonna go to the frame, which is a parent, which is the frame that has this image, this blue part and the text, and make sure it has a layout like that, so it looks good. But then again, we need to distribute it from the left side to the right side. So I'm just gonna click this distribute like that, and then I'm gonna click this color, and then I'm gonna just drag it to the left part. And then as always, again, we're also gonna distribute this content between. Nice. So now we have something nice. So we have the stack, we have a 348 height, we have the image inside here, which I'm gonna call this my image, and then I'm gonna call this my text. Okay, and then I'm gonna call this stack, I'm gonna call it my container. Okay, so now we can adjust the height to like 300 somewhere there, and looks pretty good. So I'm gonna come to the image, and I'm just gonna give it like a width of 436, but you can feel free to use any width or height. So, and then I'm gonna come to my color, and I'm gonna just add an image from Unsplash. I'm just gonna grab a random image, just to put it inside this frame, and then I'm gonna come to this image still, and I want it to have a fill height. So I'm gonna give it a height of fill like that, so that the image kind of fills the height of my container. And then I'm gonna go to the container, and I'm gonna give it a radius of 12. So notice that there's a curved edge here because of the radius 12. And then I'm gonna do the same for my image. I'm gonna do the same and give it a radius of 12. So this is just a few design tweaks, but just to make our design look good. And then we also need to do something on the right side. As you can see, this text is leaning to this blue part, so I'm gonna give it a padding on the right. I'm gonna give it a padding of like 50. Let's see, I think that looks good. And then now we have something we can work with. So now we have this container, and I can actually give it a color so you can see like what we're dealing with at the moment. So as you can see, we have something small and something quick. This is where we're gonna put that kind of elements that are flowing from the bottom to the top, and I'm gonna call this I just call it like, let's say, my container elements. Okay, so element container, I think is a better word, element container. So here is where I'm gonna put everything. I'm gonna come here and get rid of this fill color, and then I'm gonna come here to insert, and I'm gonna search for something called a ticker, and I'm gonna click this ticker. I'm gonna drag it inside this element container, and then I'm gonna come to the element container and also just give it a layout so that everything looks neat. And then I'm gonna come to my ticker and I'm gonna set it to width to fill. As you can see, it's gonna fill these spaces on the left and the right, and I'm gonna give it a height of around, let me give it 260. So I'm just gonna click this ticker, and I'm gonna click these three dots, and I'm gonna connect this element with my container. And notice what happens here. What is happened here is that our ticker is currently set from the left to the right, and that's why you can see this fading on the left and the right. But we need to change the direction so that it flows from the top to bottom. So I'm gonna click this ticker and edit its properties. The direction, I want it to move direction from top. I think that looks neat. And then notice that kind of looks like our element has a very wide width. So I'm gonna come to my ticker property. I'm gonna look for sizing, and I'm gonna make sure the width is set to stretch. And as you can see, it now fits quite well. And then the height is okay. Let's just leave the height to 60 or automatic. So it means auto, it will take the height of our element. And what I'm gonna show you what is gonna happen here. So we just need to take this container and add more elements inside this sticker. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just connect these other elements. We have something, so you can see the ticker moves perfectly well, and we can scroll nice and smooth. Nice, I think this is pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now, and what I'm gonna do, try and do it very quickly, is I'm gonna change these different images, and then I'm gonna also change these into a component so that once we hover inside this container, we have a different change of state, just like our website here. So once we hover, we can see different states. So like there's a video playing, the background changes the color, and also notice when we hover, the ticker stops moving. So let me just show you how to do that. I'm gonna hold this container. I'm gonna hold Control Alt K on my keyboard, and we're gonna see this pop up and click create new component. And then I'm just gonna come here to variant 1 primary and add another variant. So I'm gonna change the image. I'm gonna use a radius from 12 to 40. I'm gonna bump it to 40, and then I'm also gonna change the radius of our image from 12 to 40 just to have a nice and clean look. And then let's go to this primary, and as you can see, it had a color of 2111. So I'm gonna click this color and I'm gonna minimize the opacity to 0. So it looks like it has a color, but the opacity is set to 0, so we can't see the color. And then we can just come up to the variant 2, and we're gonna bump up the opacity of the color like that. And then now we just need to add interactions between this primary and this variant 2. So I'm gonna click this primary, I'm gonna hold this up, and I'm gonna add and connect it to this, and then interaction on mouse enter. We don't want any delays, and then I'm gonna come to variant 2 and just return it back. Again, when the mouse leaves, we're gonna go back to variant 2, and we can just view it. As you can see, when my mouse enters, we have this change of, the image changes, and this also radius changing, and we can also see a nice transition. So you can use a video inside here, but right now I'm just gonna use an image. And then I also want to design like an arrow here, so that we have this arrow that comes when we hover. And then I'm gonna come here to make sure we can't see it in the variant primary. So now I'm sure the arrow will come when we hover. This looks good. It looks nice and neat. Nice. I think that's pretty good. So to make it even much easier, we can change all these elements into variants so that we can easily, change our other containers. So essentially, we're going to duplicate this 3 times and just change the contents. And then also, as you can see, so now I'm just gonna click this tick of mine, and I'm just gonna connect these cards again, just as we had connected them before. I'm gonna connect them like that. Oh, now it looks good. And let's go to our section here. And something critical I didn't tell you is we have a section of 104 height, so we can always increase the height so that we can have some space to scroll a bit and see more of this. And then also this part, we can also just increase the height a bit so that we can always scroll a bit. So I think now it looks neat and clean. And then I'm gonna come to my frame here, which has a text container, and I'm gonna add a fill inside it, and I'm gonna use this kind of a linear gradient column. And on top here, I'm gonna use a fully dark color, and then on the bottom part here, I'm also gonna use a dark color, but I'm gonna minimize the opacity of the bottom one, so that our past experience, we can always see it contrasting with the background, so we can see it clearly. So now we can view what we have. Let me just scroll and see what we have. So let's just scroll and see. Nice. So I think it looks neat. However, there's a bit of a problem here. As you can see, there's a line between past experience, this background, and this. So we just need to make sure that our past experience is a bit leap. Let me just adjust it to 95 or 90. Let me give it 90. See if we have something nice. So I'm just gonna scroll now. Now it looks neat. It looks good and neat. Our past experience, we can see it clearly. And then yeah, so we can always scroll, and I think this is quite good. And notice when I hover inside here, you can see that we changed this state from a different state to another state, which looks neat. Although it's good, I think it's better for us to set the ticker on hover to, instead of just slowing it down completely, let's just give it a like 0.4. So let's see, now I think it looks good. So anytime we hover inside, it still moves, but it moves slowly. I think that's much better. So this is good. So as you can see, that's how you recreate this bit. If you've watched till this parts. Congratulations, I hope you learned something, and you can always find the remix file for this in the description. And happy diving, and I will see you again in the next video.